I stood the moment he was gone, trying to decide if it was worth risking it. That could have been a bluff, after all. I rubbed my wrists as I limped over to the dusty windows, urging blood back to my poor feet faster. What do I do now? He'd untied me, but that wasn't going to do much good if I just stayed here and waited for whatever Grant had planned. A slight movement in the corner of the window caught my eye. A black spider with spindly legs and a bulbous black body. Hello? Black Widow? We didn't really have those in the area. I don't know why, but I immediately thought of Elliot. Elliot. Could it be? I glanced over my shoulder and leaned down, not wanting to get too close to a creepy, venomous spider, but also, you know, wanting to be close enough for a conspiratorial whisper. Just in case. Elliot? I had no idea how to read spider behavior, so I couldn't tell if it stopped moving because it was planning to jump on my face and bite me, or if it was because the spider was my vampire friend waiting to hear what I had to say. Well, either my situation has deteriorated to the point where I'm talking to a spider, or you're my only real hope for help. So, just so you know, Spencer and Grant are here. They're trying to do changeling tests to make me prove my identity. I'm not sure what they're planning next, but, you know, help and all that. The spider scrabbled back against the glass, and I jerked away, barely biting back a scream. Gah! Didn't know if it was Elliot or just a creepy spider, but I was never getting that close to a Black Widow again. Ever. For something so tiny, those things were distressingly intimidating, right? I didn't get to contemplate next steps after sending off a possible SOS via spider. Outside, there was a loud crash and an ungodly scream. Grant? I ran to the door, imagining a huge swarm of Black Widows descending on us or something. What I saw was way worse. Feral time? Oh, yeah. Okay, well that's terrifying. It's like a very angry monkey man. What the hell is that? The scene before me was definitely not what I expected. Grant was by the car, trying to fend off a thing. A shadowy, snarling creature that looked like something that had once been human. Spencer was basically having a screaming meltdown of extreme helpfulness some distance away. Screaming meltdown of extreme helpfulness is such a good line. And, well, I didn't blame him. Grant was doing his best to keep the thing at bay with a large stick. I was dubious how long that was going to last. And because I have always had a reputation for being a complete genius in these sorts of situations, I rushed outside and straight toward him. Because I didn't think it was the best course of action to cower inside and let it eat the two of them. If only because that left me for dessert. Spencer, get inside! I gave him a shove as I passed by. Not that he actually moved, idiot. In the meantime, I looked around for something, anything, to use as a weapon because I didn't think taking my shoes off and throwing them was going to help much. At any rate, the ruckus I was causing definitely attracted attention because the creature abandoned Grant and started lumbering toward me. My legs wobbled as I unexpectedly faced down. The very thing that had been murdering people for weeks now. Feral. I could see why it was called that. Hi. My voice came out as a hoarse squeak. I took a rapid succession of steps backward, unsure what to do next. Sorry to interrupt, but... I clapped my hands to my ears, nearly panicking at the unexpected sound of gunfire. Oh, did it get you, Grant? Oh my goodness. Oh, it got you. Ooh, that is not good. The feral staggered forward, its body jerking slightly, as apparently several shots hit it in the back. For all the good that did. Because it just swung its head back toward Grant as if it couldn't decide which of us to eat first. What it didn't do was, you know, die. Or fall over. or at all indicate it was subdued in any way. And, I don't know, suddenly, I was just so pissed off. Spencer and I were both in danger because of that moron over there, who was already bleeding everywhere, thank you very much. I'd managed to hurl myself into some kind of outrageous situation, act as a distraction, and Grant had a freaking gun, and he was still useless. Boom. It felt like a flame had been lit inside me. Oh, is she going all Faye again? I barely realized what I was doing as I clenched both fists and just screamed in frustration. Ooh. And there was an explosion of, something. It went whirling away from me in a blast of boiling air that reeked of thunder. The force of it nearly threw me on my butt, but I managed to stay upright and watch that feral thing go flying. It left a trail of black goop as it tumbled into the brush, and, well, I didn't know if that was blood or swamp ooze, but I wasn't sure it really mattered. Grant managed to brace himself against the car. I heard the sound of glass breaking, but was only dimly aware it was his windshield. To be honest, I was just sort of shocked that it happened at all, because it definitely wasn't intentional. I stood there, frozen in disbelief. Grant definitely had a stronger sense of self-preservation than I did. He scrambled to his feet and staggered toward the building, grabbing my arm as he passed. He dragged both Spencer and I back inside. Okay, good job, Grant. And I supposed I ought to be grateful he didn't leave us to the feral, because I was pretty sure I hadn't killed it. Then again, we might all still become lunch, because the building was definitely not going to provide much shelter with the whole lack of door thing it had going on. What is that thing? How should I know? Whoa, I was feeling really woozy after that. I leaned against the pillar, doubled over, and trying not to puke. I mean, you did just call it a feral several times, so...
This place is not secure.
I heard the sounds of him reloading that useless pistol.
There's not even a front door.
Spencer grabbed my arm, shaking me slightly. Do something! Tell it to leave! I don't speak monster! I hit him each time I spoke. Best sibling moment. You dummy! He put up his hands to fend me off. And I'm about 5 seconds from projectile vomiting in your face, so stop shaking me! Stop hitting me! Grant caught my hands, pulling me away from Spencer.
This isn't helping.
Neither are you! This is your fault in the first place! He shrugged out of his jacket and yanked his sleeve up. There was a rather distinctive bite mark on his forearm. Uh-oh. That thing bit you! Grant looked down at his arm grimly.
Yeah, and I think there's more than one.
What happens now? Well, if Grant starts trying to eat our brains, we'll just knock him out with something. Grant gave me a pained look. I just shrugged. There was a low growl from the door, and Spencer screamed. My head nearly split in two at the sound of it, as my brain apparently tried to escape out my eyes to get away. Shut up! Another blast of magic ripped its way out of me painfully. This time I did hit the ground, gripping my head as every window left in the building rattled in the panes. Oh. The feral let out a scream, but sounded like it had been knocked back outside again. Unfortunately, Grant and Spencer were also picking themselves up out of the dirt.
Can you please stop doing that?
I don't know how I'm doing it! But I really did need to stop. Magic was apparently nowhere near as fun as it looked.
Spencer, quick. Let's pull some of these pallets in front of the door before it gets back.
Yeah, because that'll help.
Do it!
He staggered over to help with that, while I sat in the dirt and clutched my head, trying to convince my eyeballs not to explode. Spencer, you have your phone? Yes. Call Allie and tell her where we are. Allie? Yeah. So if that thing rips us apart, at least someone will know where to find our bodies. He didn't answer, and I didn't know if he was doing it. How did did he get our number this time? I shut my eyes, trying to take deep breaths and focus. Grant's gun was useless, and we couldn't exactly go hand to hand with those things. This magic thing I was doing, whatever it was, it could at least keep the feral away. I mean, if I could just figure out how to aim it properly, and keep it from making me feel horrible. I'd have to contemplate why I could even use magic, and what this meant for the whole changeling thing later. Much later. For now, surviving. I just had to focus. Somewhere inside me was that little gold spark. I just had to make it listen and do what I wanted. I took a long, slow breath, trying to block out Spencer and Grant shouting. There. There it was. It was small now, but I knew if I fanned it just a little, it would grow too fast and burn me up with it. I had to be careful, but I also had to do something fast. Those things were coming back, and I had to live. If only because I really wanted to be able to smack Spencer for all this. There was the sound of wood splintering, shouts, Spencer and Grant scrambling back to where I was, gunfire. Okay, there are two of them. I opened my eyes, held a hand out, and... Ooh, the music changed. No! This time it wasn't quite as painful as before. Maybe because it was intentional. The blast of air and heat flung the creatures back, and the air in front of me shimmered slightly, as if there was some kind of wall between us. A barrier? Or a shield? As soon as I thought that, whatever it was seemed to strengthen, almost as if the mental image itself was fueling the magic.
What are you doing?
Shut up if you want me to keep doing it. I need to focus.
There's more than one of those things out there.
I already know that. Ugh. I was losing the image and I could feel the barrier weakening. No! I shut my eyes, trying to focus again, picture a shield or a barrier that was protecting us. That's right. I had to protect everyone. Protect Spencer. That stupid idiot. The ferals picked themselves up and flung themselves at us. I had to bite my lip hard to keep from screaming and flinching away. They hit the barrier, but it almost felt like they were hitting me. I could feel each blow vibrate through my entire body. I really didn't think I'd be able to keep this up for long. I mean, I wasn't some kind of hero. I shouldn't even be out here. I was just some stupid girl who really just wanted to go home. Thin gold lines streaked through the air in front of me. I tried to keep the barrier up, but it shattered under the assault of the ferals. It felt like my entire body broke at the same time. My legs wobbled and I hit the ground. One of the ferals screamed and launched itself at me. I figured that was it for me. Barrier! Allie, coming in clutch. Another shield shimmered to life in front of me, and the feral hit it instead of me. Allie? Eh? I love the different music we've got in this route. It's so good. I stared in disbelief. Allie was there, standing in the door of the building, looking angry and relieved. Thank God. They made it. The ferals didn't stand a chance against her. And I'll admit, I felt a little inadequate as I watched her fling them effortlessly aside. As she ran to me, several other people barreled inside the building, namely Elliot and Mark. The ferals tried to flee back outside through the windows, but Elliot and Mark were in pretty hot pursuit. I didn't think they'd get away this time. Nora! Are you okay? She crushed me into a hug, so my answer was muffled against her shoulder. I hope you two know how completely and utterly screwed you are. I pulled away slightly, glancing back at Spencer and Grant. They both looked terrified and surprised by this development. From outside there were shouts, screams, and a crash that sounded distinctly like Grant's car was right in the middle of that battle, and not faring well. Do you need to go help?
There's no way in hell I'm throwing myself into that fight. I think Elliot and Mark will be fine. Danny and Velos are out there too. 3 ferals won't be much of a match for that.
3? Yeah, 3?
There was another one lurking outside. Whew. You sure you're okay?
Feel like I'm about to puke.
Maybe I should get out of the splash zone.
Don't worry, I'm going to aim for Grant.
What exactly is going on here? Mind explaining?
I glanced up at him, vision still a little blurry. That moron. Allie? He's recording. Phone. Allie just flicked her hand that way. His phone flipped out of his hand and went sailing. Nice.
Hey!
It smacked into the wall and a little puff of smoke went up as it kind of exploded a bit.
That isn't very polite.
His other camera, the one he'd been using earlier? Yeah, no idea where that one was. In all the fuss, I was assuming it had been hurled off to the side somewhere. We'd have to check that one too. I struck. Excuse me. Hold on a second. Hang in there, throat. You got this. I struggled to my feet. I need to talk to Brenna. We have to find her.
Whoa, calm down. What you need is rest.
Allie, this is important.
Brenna already told us what happened. You know, sort of. As much as Faye ever tell anyone anything. That potion she threw on you was mostly foxglove and some other things. She wouldn't tell us the exact ingredients, just that it can be used to reverse a changeling contract.
Changeling contract? Allie glared at him.
I'm still mad at you, so shut up!
Whoa. She was talking to Spencer like that? She really must be ticked.
Look, Brenna was pretty damn reluctant to divulge any secrets, even with Elliot badgering her. I don't know exactly what happened to you, or what you've worked out yourself, but what we pieced together is that at some point you apparently initiated some kind of contract with the Fae. A changeling contract.
Yeah. I think Spencer and I worked out when that was. Maybe...
Brenna said something about them taking your body but leaving your soul here, as camouflage for the changeling. Basically, she'd look like you, grow up as you. You'd never know she was there, though.
My soul?
All this time, you've been stuck in some fairy's body, while yours was presumably off in fairy waiting for them to give your soul back to it. In the meantime, the fairy was using your, well, personality, for lack of a better word, as a disguise to masquerade as a human. She was in there in that body with you all this time, mostly dormant from what I gathered.
Well, that's creepy. Then the sleepwalking.
Probably her waking up and trying to get you back to fairy while the you side of you was sleeping?
Rude. Also confusing.
Yeah.
Wait, so... she was telling the truth? You really are... Nora? Spencer looked away awkwardly. No amount of groveling is going to make this okay, just so you know. I mean, I thought...
It was wrong. Whatever you thought, it was wrong, okay? You're a complete idiot, and I am so angry at you right now I could scream!
Allie, wait. Look. It wasn't his fault. Totally. I shot Grant a glare. Not when he had some idiot whispering in his ear, convincing him to do all this. Saying of which was getting your proof worth nearly getting us all killed.
You can get angry all you like. I was just trying to uncover some lies, because someone important to me was killed. And I still don't have answers about that.
So you're going to just drag everyone else into it? For what? Revenge? You didn't have to get Spencer involved.
I needed a way in. Every other attempt was thwarted. I needed someone who was already involved. Like you. Like your brother.
Sorry to interrupt. Looks like we're all done out here.
I want to know what's going on. What were those things?
I shot Elliot a glance. He looked a bit disheveled, to say the least. But he was in one piece. And we were lucky we were, too. I grabbed Grant's arm. Hopefully the injured one. I'm not done talking to you yet. You should have kept Spencer out of this. You dragged me out here, tied me up. Had Spencer half convinced he needed to set me on fire or something.
Set you on fire?
Spencer was staring hard at the ground, but Grant didn't even budge. But what I'm really angry about is that you don't even care that you put him in danger for your own selfish purposes.
My brother is dead!
But mine is still alive, you jerk! I hit him as hard as I could as I shouted that. Elliot was at my side in a minute, pulling me back.
Nora, it's okay. It's over now. It's not.
Elliot whirled around, landing a single punch in the center of Grant's face. Thank you. He went down hard, blood dribbling from his slightly crunched nose. Yeah, I bet being punched in the face by a vampire is no joke. Ouch.
Perhaps you could save beating him up until later. After all, he is still bleeding from earlier, it would seem.
Velos. I wondered how long he'd been standing there. He smiled pleasantly at Grant. Well, that's a good sign.
And besides, the agency also has some questions for you, Mr. Mitchell. Though I wouldn't worry. We'll be certain to get you healed up during your interrogation. I'm personally looking forward to hearing how any teacher thought it was fine to kidnap one of his students, regardless what her history may be.
Oh dear. He looked sort of pissed. A lot pissed. But that smile was definitely terrifying either way.
That said, we should leave now. The window for treating the vampire infection is very small, so if any of the infectious agent was injected into that bite wound, we have a very limited amount of time to stop it before you become a vampire yourself.
Grant visibly paled at that. Or maybe it was just the blood loss from the broken nose. Mark and Danny pulled him to his feet, practically dragging him out of the building with Velos right behind them. He went rather quietly. Either he didn't want the rest of his face broken, or the thought of becoming a vampire had calmed him down. What happens to me?
I'm certain the agency will want to talk to you as well, but it looks like Grant is their focus. So you just have me to deal with.
I almost felt sorry for him when she said that. Almost.
Come on. We need to get the two of you home, probably. We'll need to wait to hear from the others what the plan is.
Based on what Brenna told us, it seems like your sleepwalking won't be an issue now. So, we'll take it a step at a time from here on out.
She shot Elliot a glance, then grabbed Spencer.
You are coming with me for now. We're going to have a little talk outside. Now.
He went quietly, leaving Elliot and me in the building alone. I let out a long, shuddering breath. Well, that happened. Elliot pulled me to him in a tight hug. Thanks, Boo.
I'm so glad you're okay. If something happened to you, I'm so sorry. I feel like this is all my...
Don't. Please. Don't. I pulled away, looking up at him sadly. There is enough blame to go around without everyone trying to grab their portion. It's over. At least this part of it. I just want to move on. I smiled slightly, flicking his hair out of his eyes. He definitely had some scratches and bruises going on. Looks like that was some fight out there.
The ferals didn't really go down quietly, but it wasn't too bad. I'm not great in a fight, but, well, I guess I did okay. It's kind of too bad you didn't get to see me looking cool out there.
I think I definitely got to see you looking pretty cool. As usual. I reached up and pulled him down so I could plant a careful kiss on his cheek. He went bright red. Thank you, Elliot. For everything. Really. Actually, I was kind of wondering something. Was that your spider?
What's that?
Well, that spider was you, right? Right? Please tell me I didn't have a conversation with a random spider. He just laughed at that.
Let's go. I think it's time to get you home.
Elliot! Elliot walked me out to where the others were waiting. Allie was still yelling at Spencer, and everyone was getting ready to head out. I tried to not look at the dark smudges of goop I was pretty sure used to be the ferals. They were horrible. Monsters. But they'd also been human once, and all the people they killed. It felt like too mundane an end for the tragedy this all was. That's what I was thinking about as we walked to where the others were parked, which was much further away than Grant. With this, I just hoped it was all finally over.